Hey folks, welcome to another week of Women's Ultimate, Elite Women's Ultimate. Um, I'm gonna go through the drills that I think make sense. I've been kind of going through the list of the poll that y'all did at the start. We've done some lane defense, we've done some throwing. This time we're gonna focus on handler D because that was kind of the next thing further down the list. We're going to start with a pretty simple drill that I'm calling just a read and react. So disc starts on the corner over here. Line of people do. 1 and probably 2 makes sense because in the space. Okay, so first person's going to come into the drill. They're going to cut up line. This person is going to decide whether they're throwing the first look or the second. So the first look is just the simple standard up line. If this person gets pumped or there's a fake or whatever, or they communicate, then this person's looking for the leading 7 cut back this way across the stack, and this person is going to react to continue. The disc moving there. When that happens, this person is also going to react, and if they get like the early look, great, they're trying to score a goal. If not, then they're looking for the cut back here, either a 7 or a step around, throw to the back corner there. So each person in this group is reading and reacting to the person in front of them. So it could literally go upline, goal. It could go upline, 7, goal. It could go 7, upline, 7. Okay, you can do a bunch of things in it. Should be pretty straightforward. After you do 1 rep, jog to the next spot and become that person there. After you make that one, jog to the middle of the field and become that person. Last person cycles into the drill. So hopefully they're working in rhythm together, trying to read each other a bit. I would say start the pacing a little slower, and then eventually you should be kind of snapping through that drill pretty quick. I would give it about 10 minutes. If it feels really good, then this person can start to change it from just a standard upline. They could run their box, or they could even run it as an out and under. If the disc goes to the same side, theoretically this person could eventually do out and unders to 7s, but keep it pretty boring to start, and then as you get comfortable with the person in front of you, you can kind of work your way into a little more complex cutting patterns. The second thing we're going to do is handler D from 3 different scenarios. When I think of handler D, put the disc here, I usually see 3 kind of like common positions. The first is being kind of in the reset space on the break side. I'll pretend it's a flick mark. You'll see handlers in kind of 1 in a vertical stack. That's another place where we see a lot of reset work being done. And then the last one is in this open side dump set on the open side. Okay, so those are kind of the 3, I'll just put little marks there. Those are the 3 main spots we see handlers set up, and I'm just going to kind of go through the thought process there. One of the ways that handler defense is a little different than defense in the lanes, per se, where you might be guarding someone 3 or 4 or 5, is that this lane defense is mostly driven about like 1 read and then a hard cut. It's longer, it's normally getting up to top speeds more, so you have to be fast through the entirety of your sprint. But it's less, there's not as much thinking going on because the lanes are fairly obvious where people are going, and there's less like quick turning. And the other thing to think about on that one is the reason things change less when you're playing defense in here is that the mark doesn't have as much impact on these angles. They don't change as quickly. Whereas if this person suddenly moves just like a step or 2, that changes dramatically what this defender is trying to do versus a normal mark. So the angles change much more quickly when you're playing handler defense than when you're playing lane defense. And that means that you probably don't need to actually turn your hips as much, but you do need to do a lot better job of anticipating where the cuts are going to be. So we can go back to the deny, contest, chase framework as the starting point that we've already gone over. So let's start here, which I think is one of the more simple approaches. Whether this person is on the line or in the middle of the field, the deny space is nearly always going to be this spot, kind of like 5 to 10 yards directly in front of the thrower. Because it's the easiest throw, it advances the disc. It makes the most sense to have that be your deny space. And so usually what you're going to do is put yourself between the person and that space. So, you know, whether they're in this space over here, whether they're up higher a little bit, whether they're kind of closer, you're going to want to put yourself in such a way that they can't run directly to that space unimpeded, and you're going to fight for it. So what will happen, and what the most common thing we see in this space, is that handlers will drive to seal this person out. They'll turn their hips and come back the other way. So what I like to see my handler defenders doing is coming in with a deny and then anticipate what the next movement's going to be. And sometimes you're going to get the second part wrong, but that's about learning in that moment. And so in games you might see that, like, you get the first one wrong, you get the second one wrong, but by the third time you start to understand the person that you're guarding a little bit more and what their tendencies are. So that's kind of the main thing, is this should usually be your deny space. So put yourself in between that person and then figure out where your contest space is going to be. I would usually say that I want people to kind of contest this space by staying close and anticipating. And so that would mean that I'm going to work with the first person, or work with the first move, the jab step or whatever setup cut is, and then I'm going to anticipate going this way. If this person goes up and they take their first step and they actually end up going upfield or something, this is an incredibly hard shot to do. If they come back here, it's not very valuable. So this space is really valuable because it advances the disc and moves it quickly, and they get into power position. They've got momentum going that way. This is next most valuable because it allows that thrower to access the bottom of the break side of the field. If you have a thrower that can kind of hit this spot, all the power to them. If they are willing to take a shot out here or out here, I mean, you can't win everything, but hopefully you'll have some help as well in either of those spaces, any of those spaces. So I would say that you want to come in and you want to start with your deny, and then your contest is actually how you're going to anticipate the next piece of movement for that person that you're playing defense on. Okay, so that's how I would set up my deny and contest and chase space. I would deny here, I would contest here and anticipate, and then I would chase this last spot. So that's how I would do it for that specific position, which is the break side reset. Okay, we're going to change to this spot here, which is one kind of an invert stack. And this gets back to trusting on how you're choosing your deny and contest spaces. I would choose that my deny space is going to be here again. And you'll notice it might not change that much from where it was before. And it doesn't really. You're trying to make sure that the easy throw doesn't happen. And then I would put probably my contest space over here. Okay. And this choice versus of here or maybe further upfield is going to be more related to how you read this person and their skill set. If there's someone who's really shifty and they can change angle quickly, you might try to push them out because you know they might want this spot. If there were someone who is more of a cutter type and not as skilled with the disc, you might consider having your contest space actually being a little bit deeper. Your contest space, being a little bit deeper. So that you're kind of forcing them to take this spot where they get the disc in a bit of a challenging spot. So again, we want to come into every rep and say, I'm going to deny this space, and I'm going to deny it expecting movement elsewhere, because that's what handlers do really well. They do a jab step or a shimmy cut or, you know, any number of moves to like get you to bite, and then they try to go in a different direction. So we're still going to set up the deny movement We're still going to deny this space, but then we're going to choose a contest that fits that person. If I've got someone like Carrie, who is a good handler and really strong and wants to be around the disc, I might have this as my contest space and try to force her out. If I had someone like Avery who's got tons of speed, then I might have my contest space over here. And I might try to actually say like, you know what, I'm going to deny here. I'm going to anticipate that you go out. And if you beat me on a triple move to that spot, or you go there early, you know what, that's okay. I'd rather you have the disc there than there. So that's how I would approach defending a handler in the front of the stack and a vert. One thing I will say, sometimes what I will do is actually stay a little bit topside, because I want to, and just kind of set my positioning up so that I'm expecting to get sealed and anticipate this movement right away. So in that case, my deny would actually be here a little bit, but really I want to make sure that I'm chasing hard on this under and kind of try to scare a first throw. It's a little wrinkle. It's a little bit different. You can, when someone sees this much green space, they often really just want to be like, oh, it's there, I'm going to go take it. And if you just anticipate that right away, then you can stop a lot of throws from coming out and throw people out of their rhythm. So it's a bit of a trap. I wouldn't do it all the time, but having it in your bag of tricks is great. So that's defending the front of the stack. And then the last one I think is probably the hardest one. And that's because there's no defensive help in this space. You're very much isolated here. I would usually, this is a really tough one, because if you play straight up and try to just stay tight, good throwers can put this kind of like either a lefty backhand or a floaty throw here, and then it's just a foot race for this person, and they know when that foot race starts, so you're almost always going to lose. If you try to play a little more topside, then you're giving up this like jam throw, which can be really destructive because it accesses the break side so easily. So I would say my most common setup is actually it seems a little weird, but it's a little bit like this. The reason being that I personally don't like break throws going out, and you can throw break throws for pretty flat yards. Whereas this one, even if it's a leading throw, I'm usually able to I know it's gonna come, and I have a little bit more pressure, and I can see as I'm running and chasing, I can actually see what the downfield threats are in this space. So I know whether I need to, when this person catches the disc, I know whether I need to wrap all the way around, or I can play a little more honest and let the downfield defenders do their job. So it doesn't really matter what you choose. Partly you're gonna read this person, and partly trying to know what this person's gonna do. Good mark defenders, when they see this person turn their hips and start to look towards the reset, they may actually put a little bit of pressure this way because they can see that coming, and that can make your life a bit easier sometimes, but you have to know what this person's doing in that set. So again, my default is actually setting up kind of this way. I'm trying to shoulder check a little bit, and if the disc does get out to this spot, then I do have some information about what's going on, and I'm easier to contain. And then if I can do a good job for the first, and my defenders can do a good job for the first 2 seconds, then I can actually put a good mark on, and the disc is on the sideline, and so that's kind of a win for me. It's on the 4th sideline. I do give up a few yards. You might give up a momentary power position shot, but you push the disc to a space where you can apply pressure, and I think the 4th sideline is really high pressure situation, so I would like to do that. If you get beat a couple of times and they score goals in a game, then I would consider adjusting my positioning to something more like this, where I can run across and corral if I need to. But yeah, I think this is honestly one of the hardest spots to play good defense on, because you're kind of getting beat regardless. There's no help defense around. There's usually people over here, and you're kind of toast. So it's really tough with that much green space. So picking one space and anticipating is incredibly key in those moments. So every time you do some reps in the next drill, really dial into the fact that you need to come in with a purpose. You need to figure out your deny space, and you need to anticipate the next move. And if you can anticipate that move, you could create those situations where the person feels completely locked down and they bail out to try to give someone else a chance to do it. And if you can do that and one other person can do that, suddenly you're at stall 7 and you get a prayer shot. So something to think about. Deny, contest, chase, and way more anticipation than in lane D. So what I'd like to do in this drill is we're going to start the disc slightly to one side of the field. We can start, yeah, kind of that way. We'll start with a person here, and it's just a single rep defense drill. Leave this pair in for a while, cycle a couple other pairs through the drill, and this person just basically gets to try to cook. They're gonna try to, I would say, actually would be great, set up kind of like a cone here and a cone here, and just say that the handler needs to win a matchup kind of along this. The handler on offense needs to win the matchup somewhere along that line. You know, give them a couple yards off the line to move up and down a bit, but realistically they should try to win the matchup in this window. And that means that if they have to go outside it, then the defense has won. So it's a little bit constrained, but it gives a really great kind of game-like feel where these are really the most common spots that open side reset defender will attack. The next rep, I would put it more towards the middle of the field. Set up here. And this time, instead of it being like this upline and backfield look, I think it makes more sense to probably have the main priorities be here. Main priorities be there. So in this case, we're trying to hit that like open side reset. Offense is trying to get the disc over to this side, or we're trying to set up that IO break throw to that side. Okay, so we're trying to put pressure on, deny one space, contest the other with good pressure. Again, cycling people through that pair. And then the last one, you'll want to push the handler start with the disc, the person with the disc, to set up this kind of backfield reset. And again, you want to play it so that you are choosing one space to deny and anticipating the contest out of that. So that's the drill. I would say each person should get 3 to 4 reps on D there, 3 to 4 reps on D there, and 3 to 4 reps on D here. That should cover in the next kind of 20-30 minutes if you stay focused. And then the last, I'll just scrub all of that. So that's the handler D scenarios kind of. Sorry, that description ran long, but I think it's one of like a really important and underrated skills. And then the last thing is we're gonna go back to the 2v2 set. Sorry, I don't need X's. We're gonna go back to the 2v2 set with a very skinny end zone there. 2 people working together on offense, 2 people working together on defense. And we can duplicate that on the same side over here. Offense tries to score in 10 throws, defense tries to contain. The one wrinkle is that for the first 2 throws, whenever the disc is caught, the offense holds the disc for 3 seconds without move, and then this person can't move for 3 seconds, sorry. So let's say this throw goes off, 1, 2, 3. During that time, defense should be repositioning and renewing their framework for deny, contest, chase, and then the play resumes. So it might look like this. Throw, 1, 2, 3, start working, putting in work. They get the dump swing out. 1, 2, 3, and then we get back in it again. So after the first 2 throws, it's just regular frisbee trying to go, and offense is trying to score within 10. Defense is trying to play good defense for that time. But the 2 throws, kind of like mini pause there, just gives the defense an opportunity to recheck in with their deny contest framework. Sometimes that means you're going to need to reevaluate what you initially had, but I think doing so for those first 2 throws will be really valuable. And then the last thing we'll do is just have a scrimmage to finish. So that's it. We'll get somebody to run those kind of as I've explained, hopefully, and hope you all, improve your handler D and get some value out of it. Thanks.